Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Vikram Rajan. He is the co-founder of Videosocials, a video blogging community and a social media automation app that is used primarily, not exclusively, but lawyers, accountants, consultants, coaches, people who, I'll let him talk about it, but it really helps people have a social media presence with quality content. Vic, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Frank.
Why don't you give us the backstory of how this all got into play? And maybe you went off to college and said, hey, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, one day I will grow up and start a video blogging club. Said no one ever, including me. So yeah, it came kind of as a fluke. So we have another company, another service called Phone Blogger, and that we've been running for a couple of years, but same type of clientele, same type of need. Our clients, as you mentioned, Frank, lawyers, accountants, consultants, our type of clients and now members, they get their business through word of mouth referrals. And so they are part of networking groups like AmSpirit, and they need to stay top of mind with referral relationships and potential clients. And when it comes to social media and the internet, from search engines to email, all of it is content. And they need to get their name out there with content. And it used to be that the written content was the primary and dominant preferred content by search engines and social media, et cetera. But Phone Blogger, which we still run, we interview our clients over the telephone and we turn what they say into written articles. So it's their personality, their expertise in the written form, done through telephone interviews, hence Phone Blogger. But a couple of years ago, Facebook Mark Zuckerberg announced that Facebook was going to go mobile first and video first. And that was, 2017, And that didn't really do much in terms of affecting our type of clients because they're mainly that professional crowd, that LinkedIn crowd. But the following year, LinkedIn followed suit, and they announced that they were also going to prioritize videos over written articles and links, especially links that go outside of their platform, essentially sending traffic away from their platform. I'm sure Frank, that all these platforms, they're free to us as users for the most part. You can upgrade for LinkedIn Premium, but for the most part, it's free, and Facebook is free. And so their revenue is generated predominantly through ads. And so for them, if they're sending traffic away to somebody else's website, be it my measly website or even YouTube, they're losing potential eyeballs and thus advertising dollars. And so they want to keep people on their platforms. And so an easy way of doing that is through video instead of blog links. And when they started prioritizing videos, this was 2018, the writing was on the wall, literally and figuratively, and it affected our clients. Typically we saw a marked difference literally within weeks and months of the number of clicks and replies and comments. And we knew what was going on. We knew it was going to be around video. And in fact, right now, for any of the listeners, quick anecdotal experiment, you open up the LinkedIn app on your phone or go to LinkedIn on the laptop desktop, you start scrolling, and you'll notice just by nature of the algorithm that every other post is a video post. And yet, if we think about how our connections, the people we're connected to on LinkedIn or even Facebook, how many of the people we know are regularly posting videos, on a regular basis? And it's definitely not half of our connections, or, it's not nearly that many. It's usually, it's the same usual suspect, the same
right.
5 or 6 people posting over and over again. But then we're seeing yet other people's videos and they're being promoted heavily. That dichotomy between the algorithm prioritizing videos, yet not as many people posting videos, that is the algorithm priority at work. And so, Frank, we've got to figure out a way to get our clients into the world of video blogging. Sending them out to videographers became a fool's errand. That was our strategy was basically the beginning of 2018. So maybe LinkedIn changed their algorithm in 2017. I got to do my research of history of when all this happened. So 2018, I want to say, was the year that we were basically telling our clients, go to these videographers, get a whole bunch of videos done. They'll, of course, get it onto YouTube. And once it's on YouTube, as a marketing firm, we can then run with it and use it as content in their email newsletters and website blogs and social media and all that stuff. And none of our clients did it, between the expense and the time, they were nervous on camera. They never did anything. And so by the end of 2018, we were like, this is ridiculous. We got to figure out something else. My business partner, Mark, whom you'll meet soon, he was the president of Toastmasters out in Maui after his days in the Coast Guard. He lived in Maui, and it's one of the largest Toastmasters in the country, the largest in Maui, of course. And so I said, hey, Mark, what if we did kind of like a Toastmasters, but on Zoom, but instead of it just be practicing public speaking, we could video record them. And thus we have a video blog. We have them on video, and that's what we need. And we can always transcribe it and turn it into written articles like what we do at Phone Blogger. So we'll get the written word as well, but we can get them over the hump of creating video content. And this was back, before COVID. So most people didn't know what Zoom was. Most people didn't know if they had a webcam on their laptop or not, or where their webcam was. And so it was quite ridiculous in the beginning, getting people just even used to the concept. And so we started it basically for our clients. And that's really what the first part of Videosocials is now. We call it a video blogging club. We had no other thing to call it because it was kind of like a Toastmasters, not really a networking group, but this concept of a networking group on Zoom was pretty foreign. And we knew that's not really what it was. But as you know, whenever you bring well-seasoned, well-connected people into a group, relationships blossom and prosper. And so our members of Videosocials started getting to know one another and started sharing each other's videos. And that became a really cool multiplier effect, especially when it comes to social media algorithms, not just posting, but it's getting your content, getting your videos, especially shared by others. And so that became a natural outgrowth of Videosocials. And in the meanwhile, we built out a software automation. So it's push button posting to YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and WordPress and, captioning and all that stuff came about. But I'll stop there in terms of background and story. That's kind of how Videosocials came about.
Interesting. Now, are these mainly your clients from Phone Blogger, or you, I guess, picked up clients along the way?
Yeah. So the initial seedlings or seeding these clubs were our Phone Blogger clients. It's grown way beyond that now. We've got members in a dozen states now and looking at Europe and things like that. So it's grown beyond just a clientele of a Phone Blogger. They share very similar profiles, so to speak, in terms of being, like you mentioned, attorneys and accountants, et cetera. They're very similar in terms of subject matter experts and thought leaders. But it very quickly grew beyond because those few initial clients, they were always raving fans of Phone Blogger, but it was even easier for them to invite people into this group format of Videosocials. So as they became raving fans and getting business out of it, they become, their friends became members of Videosocials as well.
It sounds like it's become much more scalable too, because with Phone Blogger, it's really kind of a one-on-one conversation.
Yes. It's a one-to-one. You're basically meeting with, ostensibly, we call an editor. People think of it as ghostwriting, but it's very much our client's own words. But nevertheless, exactly as you mentioned, it is a concierge one-on-one service. So it's wonderful as a service, much more expensive than Videosocials because of that one-to-one nature. And exactly what you mentioned from a scalability standpoint, it's not as scalable as Videosocials, especially then you add the automation software component. But also from a member perspective, a client perspective, you have that added dynamism of being in a group and getting feedback from multiple people, having multiple clubs. Now we host 2 or 3 every day. So even from a member's perspective, they actually get more value at a lower cost and can actually use the automation to scale their own marketing. So from that aspect, yeah, it's scalable all around. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, obviously they're supportive of one another. I've been in Toastmasters. For those who have not been in Toastmasters, consider it. Certainly consider Videosocial as well. But in Toastmasters, it's a very supportive environment, meaning you're encouraged to give speeches 6 minutes, which I find 6 minutes so much tougher than 60 minutes. That's just my own. I would rather talk for 60 minutes than 6.
As you see, I'm quite verbose myself. So
I know it's hard. It's hard. That 6 minutes is hard because you've got to kind of ramp up to full speed pretty quickly. Whereas,
and at Videosocials, you get up to 3 minutes, and we always kind of warn and counsel our members, you don't have to fill up the 3 minutes.
Yeah.
In fact, keep it short and simple. The KISS principle.
Yeah, less is more. So they're helping each other, but
Right.
Are you seeing transactions or deals or partnerships, or I don't want to put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, collaboration happens. So we're starting to highlight when those collaborations happen because a good percentage of our members have their own podcasts. So they invite other members onto their podcast. They have joint ventures and affiliate relationships, just referral relationships in general. One of the things that our members do often, just on a very simple level, is literally clicking like and share on each other's videos, because it's kind of cool to see someone record a video in front of you. Yeah. And then the next day she's posting it on LinkedIn and you're in the room when it happened. It's kind of neat. Like, I remember her recording that yesterday. Yeah. Or vice versa. You ask him a question about that topic as feedback of like, hey, what did you really mean when you mentioned that piece of jargon? And then the next week he actually records a video based on your question. We feel very much vested and invested in each other's marketing and literally those videos. And so they're constantly sharing. And so part 3 of Videosocials are our sharing socials, where our members come to a special event after they've posted their video on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever. They give a 1-minute highlight summary of what that video was about and who it's for. And if we think we're connected to that kind of audience, we share each other's videos. And it becomes a nice multiplier effect. No one's obligated to share each other, but nevertheless, it becomes, based on relationship and relevancy, a neat way of extending the outreach to people that maybe we weren't connected to already. So that happens all the time. Deals happen all the time. We're not really a networking group. This is all like frosting on the cake of getting the encouragement and accountability of getting the videos done. But as you know, through your own organization, when good people come together, good things happen.
Yeah, you can't stop it. Well, and you keep using the term multiplier, and I can totally see that, because people know, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, that if I like, comment, and share your stuff, it's going to increase the likelihood that you're going to like, comment, and share my stuff. It's human nature. We reciprocate.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what we do.
There's the fancy term of law of reciprocity. There's the more pedestrian guilt trip, karma, golden rule. The more you share others, the more others share you. And that is kind of one of those known secrets of social media, or maybe unknown secrets. So, if you want to get more shares, share others. Yeah. Especially when it's done strategically around a community that wants to share each other. All that happens naturally at Videosocials.
Yeah, I think, to a degree, it's common sense, but not common knowledge, because I run into people and I explain that to them. And it's like this epiphany that's almost like, oh, really? Yeah, you're right. That makes sense. I think this is great. This is so unique what you do. I always tell a story. When I was in high school, you go to the guidance counselor and there were buckets, right? You want to be a police officer, a teacher, or a fireman, or, just different buckets. And now the world is so diverse and so many different opportunities. And obviously you have filled a need that I'm sure there are other people doing something similar, but not exactly like this. What were you looking to do? What 10 years ago or 5 years ago, where were you headed?
Well, 10 years ago, working on Phone Blogger, it's amazing that it's a culmination. I grew up a computer geek. I was doing a bulletin board system modem chatting in high school back when that kind of stuff was not cool by any means, doing those emoticon smileys and LOLs and all that stuff. So as a computer geek, all this stuff of chatting online is all too normal for me. I've been doing it, disrupting my family's one telephone line, and my mom would pick up the telephone and knock me off the internet. And no one understood like what I was doing in the parents' basement. But it was just kids on Long Island, suburbs of New York City. And in college, started a writing magazine because I like the written word. So you kind of put all these elements together. It just makes sense for me to have Phone Blogger as kind of a publishing company, helping my kind of clients get their knowledge and thought leadership out there. And so I'm not a videographer. I don't know any of those technical specifications of cameras and all that stuff. But I know I want to help our clients and our members with their word of mouth marketing using the internet. And so it's always based on relationships for my type of clients. It's always based on the know, like, and trust factor. And even with Phone Blogger, we want those written articles to really bring out our client's personality and personal brand, even more than their expertise. There's that saying, Frank, that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And that, it comes out so much better on video. Video is like a proxy of being in person. We're on Zoom right now and we're able to see each other and read each other's body language and facial expressions and hand gestures and intonation, and all that stuff comes out so much better on video than in the written word, especially when it comes to professional writing, where there's a certain level of decorum and professionalism that sort of whitewashes it and makes it generic because, there's only so much italics and bold you can use without it being unprofessional, and you can't smiley faces and all that stuff to convey the winks of speech. But you can do that. You can bring your personality. And so a very, buttoned up attorney or a CFO can really express himself or herself wonderfully and show their passion along with their expertise on video. And we all see that. I mean, we, good or bad, we've lived with Zoom and video, for the past year and a half. And so this stuff is not going away. If anything, it's going to become even more mainstream as we get back to whatever that new normal is. And so for me, it was always kind of, how can I help other people get their name and get their word out there? And this is just the latest expression of that.
Yeah, no, I think it's certainly something that's unique. And there's, I don't know what the exact ratio is. Well, let's put it this way, Vic. We're also strapped for time.
Yeah.
And I have a 1-minute podcast, and they're all about 150 to 160 words, give or take. Mm-hmm. And I know that 150 words I can pretty much get out in 45 seconds to 50 seconds. I can't read it that fast, is my point, right? I'm probably twice as slow reading it. So, I see the advantage over this. Plus, when you're listening to a podcast or watching a video, you don't have to be as engaged as when you're reading something. When you're reading, I think it just takes more energy to read something than it does to listen to it. Because like you say, all the intonations are in there. So you're not interpreting things. It's all right there. And it will play it a loop in your head, exactly how it was said.
Yeah, I think there's that. It's kind of why the movie version of the book ends up selling more. And, people time and time again say the book is always better.
Yeah.
And that may be true. But from a business standpoint, the movie ended up reaching more people, selling more tickets, making more money. And so from that aspect, that's why these social media platforms started prioritizing video. It wasn't, they don't really care that it's video or anything else. They know it's sticky. It keeps people on their platform longer. It gets people addicted to their platform, and that's what they want. And that leads to advertising dollars.
Right.
But so it's convenient on both ends, on both sides of the table. Consuming the content, it's convenient for most of us, and there's still a good number of us who prefer the written word. And I think there's that advantage, back to that phone blogger concept, where we can take the video and turn it into a read-along version for people who prefer reading, let alone captions on the video from an ADA compliance and all that stuff is built into our system. But from a convenience standpoint, it's convenient for most of us to watch video, especially for those of us who kind of grew up watching video or being part of this, that Facebook generation, so to speak, of millennials. They're no longer kids in the parents' basement. They're in their mid to late 30s. They're the ones having children at this point. They're the ones getting married, getting divorced, inheriting business, starting businesses. They're getting into the C-suite. That mature millennial market is that core market. They're the ones who don't really know of a time before YouTube. Google bought YouTube for $1 billion back in 2006. That's a long time ago. So this is a generation, I'm the MTV generation. They're the YouTube generation. So they don't really know anything else. If for them, internet marketing isn't an extension of marketing or another aspect of marketing, it is marketing. It is a way they consume information. And now you have the TikTok generation, so to speak, which them too are aging. So back to your concept, consuming the content is convenient, but also, of course, producing the content is convenient. That, back to that concept of how easy it is, to some extent, when you're writing, you have to be conscious of grammar and perfect sentences, especially as a professional, where this is an extension of your professionalism and expertise and excellence. And so you can't be sloppy in the writing because it's unprofessional. But with video, you can talk in fragment sentences. And if you flub up, not a big deal. We flub up in everyday language and everyday conversation, so all right. That's one of the things our members have to kind of learn, that, hey, if you flub up, no big deal. Don't get all flustered and stop the video. Continue, because we flub up in regular conversation.
Right.
And so from that aspect, it's convenient to produce, it's convenient to consume, which is why these social media platforms do it, prioritize video. I mean, Google was prescient in that sense of, quote unquote, overpaying for a platform that didn't make money and all that stuff back 2006. But, that's a long time ago. Those, a kid born in 2006 would be in high school by now. So
50, almost driving.
Yeah. So, from that, that's ridiculous, right? So a kid in their who's in early 20s, they don't remember a time before.
Yeah.
And that's the way the world is.
Well, let's shift gears here. We've kind of talked about the what. Let's talk about the how as we kind of wrap up here. How people can experience this, how they can get a hold of you. Maybe that's one and the same. You let me know.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess the easiest way, Frank, would be people can go to Videosocials, that's plural, videosocials.net. And when they go to videosocials.net, on the bottom right-hand corner will be a chat box. And it's not a bot, it's not a robot. That box goes to my cell phone. So I kept it on mute right now because it's constantly buzzing, which is not a bad thing. And people ask me questions all the time. And it's really fun to talk to potential guests and potential members and even current members right there. There's an easy way of texting me and getting a hold of me. As you can imagine, I'm no stranger to social media. So you could look up my full name on Facebook, LinkedIn, but mainly LinkedIn. And we can connect there, Vikram Rajan. In the top right corner of videosocials.net, there'll be a red button that says be a free guest. And I really welcome any of your listeners to come on to Videosocials as a spectator if they want. They can be a fly on the wall and just watch. However, it's a lot more fun to be a participant. And you'll go after members go. So you'll kind of see the format of what members do. And members are going to come prepared. They come with 2 or 3 bullet points and a Post-it note. They are getting their video blog recorded. So they are coming very much prepared. But guests don't really have to prepare anything. After guests, we do ask, or after members, we do ask guests to at least introduce themselves. And if they're familiar, for example, if they're an AmSpirit member, they'll be familiar with introducing themselves in a networking group fashion. But if they are used to giving an elevator pitch or some version of that, they can do that for a minute or two and get that recorded and essentially play with our system. They get the feeling of experiencing a video blogging club, of how it is to get feedback, let alone they'll see members giving feedback. And then they'll get a link to their video on a private preview page. So nothing is public on the internet until you want it to be. And on that preview page, that's our app where they'll be able to type in a topic title and that gets branded on the video as a headline. You can push a button and Alexa will turn their video into a read-along version of the video. And our system will turn into subtitle captions right on the video. The end screen will feature their logo, their contact info. If they're a financial advisor or an accountant or an attorney, they have disclaimers that they're required to show. So that can be added automatically to the end of the video. And really, as a guest, they get the full treatment. They're able to push the right button and get their video posted onto YouTube, onto their Facebook, onto their LinkedIn. So it's all really easy. If their website is built on a system called WordPress, they'll very soon be able to push a button. And as a member, they're able to have our WordPress plugin and it's push button posting of the video and the read-along version to their website. So as a guest, they can pretty much play with it all and kind of really see how this benefits. And then our sharing socials take care of that multiplier effect, as you mentioned, Frank. So yeah, I welcome them to come as a guest and kind of play with us and have a good time. And if they don't want to post that video publicly, no big deal. At least they experienced it, but they can see how they could brainstorm topics and actually get a good library going. And then as they have a good number of videos in their video library that we host for them, they can use that automation that we've put together to have the videos automatically reposted. And if you can imagine the math, after about 2 dozen videos, which can happen within a couple of weeks, they can basically have a new post, a new video post on their Facebook or their LinkedIn, posting automatically in the background, essentially autopilot their social media from a video library. And it's kind of cool to see our members do that. It's genuine content. It's you on video, so it's not in any way fake. But it is nonetheless done for you as you're building a video library. And it all begins with your listeners coming as a guest.
Sounds great. This was very informative. I will get a lot of that in the show notes. But for everybody, Videosocials, socials with an S.net. There's a chat box in the bottom right, and that goes to Vic's cell phone. And that's if you have questions to go there, or there's a red button up on the top if you want to be a free guest. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
This was great, Frank. Thanks for the opportunity.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.